No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
What's up, everybody? It's Pikel with a League of Items, and it's 100 degrees outside. So that means that things have to go great today, right? Wrong. I liked DRX and Damwon Kia a lot last night, and it looked like it was about to get there, but it didn't. So this is what I had yesterday. So I had in the qualifier, I played a lot of Damwon. I thought that Showmaker was a great play yesterday. He was very cheap. So I had Damwon with, assorted other teams just based on trying to be unique and thinking about the fact that I liked all the favorites yesterday. So that kind of led me towards trying to save as much salary as I could in, every position, while still getting access to players like Knight and Gala at different points. So the first thing I did last night was put Showmaker and Knight into my lineup, and then I built the rest of it around. In order to make the salaries fit, I had to play a lot of DRX and Beryl. Beryl ended up scoring okay, but Ming scored better. So my lineup, we'll just run through real quick. Showmaker from Damwon, Kingen, Beryl, and DRX team slot, Wei and Gala, and then I had Knight. The first place team had Zika as a captain, which I'm kicking myself for not having Zika captain. I was thinking about playing Zika captain and Zika as my secondary mid laner, but I just thought I didn't want to lose the upside from Knight. I think that Knight has slightly higher upside than Zika. Like, I think that Knight has gotten close to 200 before, which I don't think Zika is going to do, ever. Or at least is much less likely. So this person, NYG Fan 56, so obviously they have great taste in football teams. They ran a 4-3 with DRX and Damwon. I think it was a smart play last night. It was a good way to be a little different. It was a good way to get exposure to two potential 2-0s. Frederick Brion won the first game and should have won the second game. DRX is, I don't understand why they're playing Juhan over Piosik in the first two games of that series. I think part of it may be mandatory military service for Piosik. I don't know that that's the case, but I think that might be coming up shortly for him within the next year or two, and maybe they just want to have a backup plan just in case. But I think that Piosik is definitely a better jungler. Piosik is one of the best junglers in the LCK, if not the world. So I don't really understand why they're doing that. The thing that really tilted me about this matchup as well is that in game 2, Damwon was destroying Nongshim, and they had to do a remake because of a supposed bug. I looked at the footage from what I thought is the chrono break time period, where Amumu was standing by blue buff, flashed over the wall to try to gank mid lane, like Damwon was pushing down mid and chasing down some kills. So Amumu flashed over that wall, came to one of the brushes. Tom Kench used his W over the wall and chased him down, and it looked like Amumu was standing next to the wall trying to flash over but couldn't do it. He should not have been able to do it because he didn't have flash anymore. So I don't know what their explanation is going to be for that, but that was super tilting. In that game, they had 12 kills already at like the 12-minute mark or something, or the 18-minute mark they had 12 kills, and in the next game that they only had, I think, 16 kills overall. They still had good DraftKings performance, but it should have been better, in my opinion. And maybe that's just me complaining because it didn't work out for me, but that's just really what I think. So let's talk about the games for tomorrow. And it's a little surprising, the odds that came out yesterday. So let me just do this EDG. So let's start from the 8 spot. The team that I'm least interested in tomorrow for everything is LGD. They're up against EDG. That's a very bad matchup for them. It's a very good matchup for EDG in terms of DraftKings scoring. LGD should be playing Chalizi, Shadow, Heichao, Asum, and Jinzhao. I don't think they're going to be EDG. The question is, does EDG force a bunch of kills? I'm not playing any of them. On Prize Picks, you could play Chalizi under. I mean, I think that's really the only one I would consider, but I don't love that one. And the reason why I would consider it is because I think there's a higher risk of him getting subbed out than Asum. So there's that. Then in the 7 spot, I would say Guangdong is a team that I have no interest in playing tonight. They're up against T1 for the first time since they beat them earlier this season. I think that T1 comes out and dominates them, and I'll talk more about T1 later. But I think that a T1 team who's pissed off that you beat them earlier in the season is not a good situation. I think that Keen and Teddy are both good players. If you think that they win one game or manage another upset, you should definitely be betting the over for the Guangdong players. I'm not doing that. I don't want to bet against T1 like ever. Then we have the 2 other Korean teams. We have Hanwha Life and actually we'll do Hanwha Life first. So Hanwha Life, and then I got to switch to that. So Hanwha Life is in the 6th spot for me. I don't have any interest in playing them. They're very inexpensive, but I don't think that they're as strong as KT Rolster overall. Rascal had a good matchup against Dudu the last time that they played. He had like 90 points or something like that. Cuz against On Fleek, that's a pretty good matchup. Vikla or Arya against Karis, I prefer the KT side. And then Aiming and Life against Chioni and Vista. I don't think we've seen Chioni yet. I could be wrong about that. At least I haven't seen him. So, like I said, I don't have any interest in playing Hanwha Life. I don't think that this will be a very competitive matchup. Maybe they win one game. I have zero expectations of them winning the match, though. Let's keep it moving. Next up, we have EDG. And this is the same reason I didn't want to play a lot of Top Esports or RNG last night. I don't want to play EDG because it's going to be so popular. I'd rather get exposure to the other teams on the slate without having to go to a jungle captain or a top captain or a support captain. That is a viable way to play tonight. It's just not something that I want to do. EDG is the most expensive in almost every role. So every role besides jungle and support, where T1 is the most expensive. If you want to use EDG as a secondary stack, I think that makes a lot more sense because you'll be able to build lineups that have a little bit of leverage off of EDG. If EDG is the highest scoring team tomorrow, everybody's going to have, lineups that chop in that scenario. And I'm playing in the qualifiers again for more tickets for that contest. So I'd rather try to be, more unique than that. And it's not a guarantee that I'll be able to. It's not a guarantee that I'll be able to have a unique lineup, but this is just the way that I like to play League of Legends DraftKings. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. That's why I don't want to play EDG. For Prize Picks, we have Flandre at 6.5, and we have Viper at 9.5. So again, those are 2 spots where I'm essentially betting on that already by playing on DraftKings because I need them to not have these huge performances. Viper is the one that is more likely to hit than I think. Even at 9.5, I think Viper is more likely to hit than Flandre. If they do well enough to beat me on DraftKings, they will beat these numbers as well. So maybe that's something where you could hedge against your lineups if you're fading them on DraftKings. Maybe this is an opportunity to hedge against it. I can't bet on Prize Picks because I live in New Jersey. So next up, let's go to KT Rolster. KT Rolster had a very good matchup with Hanwha Life last time they played. They had a lot of DraftKings points, and I think that we can not depend on it to happen again, but it's a good way to save salary on this slate. So if you want to get some like 2-0 upside with a game not played bonus, you can kind of force KT Rolster into a couple different spots in your lineups. Support, probably not as much. A lot of people hate playing Life as a support on DraftKings, but the team slot is only 5,200. That's not so bad. Rascal, who had a great performance against Life last time, he's relatively inexpensive. You don't really want to give up your jungle mid or ADC spots, and you're not getting that big of a discount, especially in the 80 carry role. So from a DraftKings perspective, I think Rascal is the best spot again. He beat this number last time, I believe. Aiming, again, you could definitely bet on aiming to hit the over here. That's not how I want to play. That's not how I would want to play Prize Picks tomorrow if I was playing Prize Picks. And then, my final three teams, I think a lot of people are going to end up in this situation. It just comes down to who do you think should be the favorite, FPX or anyone's legend. So it's surprising to me, but FPX is listed as the favorite at -145. I think that anyone's legend should be the favorite, so that implies that you should be getting a lot of salary savings relative to the win percent chance that anyone's legend has. Anyone's legend has a 7-3 match record. FPX does not have as good of a match record as anyone's legend, but FPX has also made a decent number of roster changes, and since Summit has come in, I think they're 3-0. So I think that's part of what's happening here. FPX is the bigger name in general. People see FPX, they think a good team. They see anyone's legend, they think bad team. So because of all of that, I want to play FPX more than anyone's legend because it will be more different. That's just how I approach DraftKings in general. So anyone's legend is my third team tonight. But what I'll say is that I want exposure to both of these teams on DraftKings because my number one team is T1. So what I was thinking for Prize Picks, I'll just do this before I talk about T1. I think that one interesting way to get exposure to these teams on Prize Picks is to correlate together a series that goes over in general. So if FPX or anyone's legend does really well tomorrow for DraftKings purposes, it could result in a 2-1 where that game, the second game that the winning team wins, is actually super bloody. So you'd have an average of 15 kills per game for both of these teams. I think that's definitely in the range of outcomes. FPX has been pretty bloody. Anyone's legend has been pretty bloody. I think that it's a good spot where you could hit the over. So you're more of treating it like a parlay where you have 4 players from this series that you're hoping hits the over. Summit is a very volatile top laner. We've seen it in the LCS. He gives up a ton of deaths. He has a ton of kills. ZDZ should be able to take advantage of that and also can't stop Summit from getting a bunch of kills just in general. And then 6.5 for 280 carries in a long series where we think that it's possible that both teams could have, between 45 to 50 kills total. They should both be hitting the over in that spot. It's not super likely, but it's an interesting way to kind of build a Prize Picks ticket. And you can kind of compare that to a game stack with FPX and anyone's legend on DraftKings. It's probably better to do it on. You probably have a higher return more often on Prize Picks than on DraftKings when that hits because you need to match it up perfectly for DraftKings to come in first place where most of the value is. But that's how I would consider playing it tonight. And then for my last spot, I would include Gumayusi in the over. So really the main thing that I'm trying to focus on tonight when I'm, looking at these games, trying to analyze these games, is do you think that T1 is going to lose to Kwangdong twice in the same season? My answer is no. And then the other part is, do I think that T1 will make it very bloody in a revenge spot because Kwangdong is the only team is one of the only teams that's beaten them in the past year? And I think the answer could be yes. And outside of that, there are some players on DraftKings. I'm not going to show you, or at least I'm not going to point it out, but there are some players on DraftKings from T1 that are underpriced, in my opinion, relative to the player pool. And those are the kinds of things that I like to look for in general when I'm playing on DraftKings, trying to get unique, trying to build the additional salary that allows you to have makes you do some interesting things with the other spots in your lineups. So just to summarize everything, on Prize Picks, if I was playing Prize Picks tonight, I would look at something like Gumayusi over with overs on all 4 from FPX and Anyone's Legend. I know that overs do not hit as much as unders, but this is so much more fun to root for and watch, and it just feels better in general. I think you'd be kind of insane to bet all 4 of these on the under, but I think the overs are potentially just a better play together. And we're basically just betting $20 that FPX against Anyone's Legend is a very bloody match. And think about it. If you can justify spending $15 on DraftKings with the hope of turning it into a couple $1,000, you can do it. You can justify $20 to win 200, where the 20 to win 200, you have ways to win back your money, even if you don't hit all 5. So, that's how I'm looking at that tomorrow. From a betting perspective, I think that Anyone's Legend at plus 112 is a good number. It's kind of insane to me that they're not the favorites over FPX. I understand that FPX is a bigger name though, and that's why it happened. EDG, I'm not betting on them at that number. T1 over Kwangdong, it seems like free money. Like, obviously, it's difficult to justify betting 500 to win 100, but if there was ever a time I would do it, it's T1 in this kind of spot. KT against Homalife, I think KT just beats up on Homalife again. Homalife has not looked that good this split. So that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.